Welcome back to Market Headlines. President Jokowi signed a presidential regulations of COVID-19 mitigations and national economic recovery, bringing the two disparate divisions under a single umbrella.
President Jokowi signed a presidential regulation on COVID-19 mitigation and national economic recovery, bringing the two disparate divisions under a single umbrella. The move is expected to streamline bureaucratic procedures related to the mitigation of the COVID-19 pandemic and the economic downturn resulting from the health crisis. In accordance with the regulation, State-owned Minister Erick Thohir is set to oversee the national economic and COVID-19 recovery team. Meantime, his team member consists Doni Monardo, which is in charge of the National COVID-19 Task Force, and Deputy of State-owned Enterprises Minister Budi Gunadi Sadikin, leading the Economic Recovery Task Force. In the official statement, Erick Thohir said that he expected the newly formed team to come up with COVID-19 recovery plans within the week. Not only form the task force, the presidential regulation also come up with the committee, which consists of Coordinating Minister of Economic Affairs as chief of the committee, while vice committee chief come from various ministries such as Finance Minister, Home Affairs Minister, Health Minister, Coordinating Minister of Maritime and Investment, Coordinating Minister of Politics, Law and Security, and Coordinating Minister of Human Development and Culture. From all sources, IDX Channel.
The Presidential Regulations number 82 in 2020 formally marks the establishments of COVID-19 Handling and National Economic Recovery Committee and Task Force. And to know more about that, let's see this series of graphics. Here it is. First, in the first graphic, we can see Economic Recovery and COVID-19 Handling Committee. So it is separated in some ministries, and it is led by the Chief Committee, which is the Coordinating Ministry of Economic Affairs, and then it is diversed into some other related ministries, which is Coordinating Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Investment, Coordinating Ministry of Politics, Law and Security, Coordinating Ministry for Human Development and Culture, and Finance Ministry, Health Ministry, and Internal Affairs Ministry. In COVID-19 Handling and the National Economic Recovery Committee, the Coordinating Minister of Economic Affairs, Erlangga Hartarto, was appointed as the chair of the committee. He will be assisted by 6 other ministers who serve as the deputy chairman of the committee. And meanwhile, one other minister, Erick Thohir, served as the chief of task force under the committee. And Erlangga Hartarto stated that the committee would coordinate the work of 2 task forces, Task Force for COVID-19 Handling and the National Economic Recovery Task Force. In addition, some of the committee's important tasks, including monitoring the national economic situations, multi-year economic programs, and COVID-19 cases. The tasks are related to the availability of task equipment, as well as the development of vaccines and antibodies. So, who is in charge and the task force under the committee? And information is on the next graphic. Here it is. As I mentioned before, as the chief executive of this handling task force is Mr. Erick Thohir. And Erick Thohir got 2 sub-superior in here. We got Doni Monardo as the chief of COVID-19 Task Force, and also Budi Gunadi Sadikin as the chief of Economic Recovery Task Force. SOE Minister Erick Thohir welcomed the establishments of the National Economic Recovery and COVID-19 Handling Task Force. He stated that the establishments of these task force could make COVID-19 handling and economic recovery go hand in hand. Then Erick Thohir claimed that he would immediately hold a meeting with the National Economic Recovery Task Force and follow up President Joko Widodo's directions. In the near future, the results of the meeting will be directly conveyed in the Coordinating Minister for Economic Affairs, Erlangga Hartarto. And what are the duties and authorities of this task force? Let's go straight in the next graphic. Here it is, as our team has gathered the duties of COVID-19 task force. First of all, is it to resolve the problem in strategic policies and quickly and also appropriately? And the second thing is oversight the implementations of strategic policies related to handling of COVID-19. And the third one is also the duty of COVID-19 task force is that establish, implement policies and other steps needed in accelerating the handling of COVID-19. Through the establishment of the new COVID-19 handling task force, President Jokowi in the same time dismissed the previous COVID-19 task force. However, one thing is certain, that is the COVID-19 task force is still led by the head of the National Disaster Management Agency, Doni Monardo. Meanwhile, one of the things that distinguishes of the COVID-19 recovery task force from the previous one is the chain of the command, where the existence of COVID-19 handling task force is under the COVID-19 handling and National Economic Recovery Committee. Then what about the responsibilities of the task force for economic recovery? The information is on the next graphic. Here it is. Previously, we talked about the duties of a COVID-19 handling, and here it is, the Economic Recovery Task Force. First of all, is to implement and control the strategic policies related to the national economic recovery. And the second one is that to resolve the problem of strategic policies implementations related to the economic recovery and also transformations. We put line in here, transformations. And the third one is that to supervise the implementations of strategic policies related to the recovery and transformations of the national economy. And Vice Minister of SOE, Budi Gunadi Sadikin, was appointed as the chairman of the task force. As a first step, he claimed to identify the business sectors most affected by COVID-19 pandemic. This was done to determine the economic program that must be made in improving the domestic economy. Meanwhile, President Jokowi asked the task force to be able to maintain the level of Indonesia's economic growth, the availability of jobs, and also people purchasing power. In addition, the Economic Recovery Task Force will also explore ideas to boost state revenue. And this is in line with the large number of government fund needs for the handling of COVID-19. So how much the absorptions of economic recovery funds so far? So let's move on to the next graphic, shall we? Here it is, we can see budget allocations for economic recovery program. And yes, government has handled several programs to maintain the economic recently as COVID-19 hit all the sectors. In total, the sectors hit 695.3 trillion. But if we compare it to the diversity, health sector costed for 87.55 trillion rupiah. And how about the budget allocations for business incentive? It's in a number of 120.6 trillion rupiah. Meanwhile, for social assistance, so far we can see that this program is the most costly budget allocations by the government by 203.9 trillion rupiah. And then we got corporations financing by 53.57 trillion rupiah, and also ministries institutions, which is costed for 106.11 trillion rupiah, and the last one is incentives for SMEs by 123.46 trillion rupiah budget allocations from the government. And despite massive allocated funds, the disbursements of absorptions of national economic recovery funds is still running slowly, which until July 17, 2020, the realizations funds for the health sector has just reached 7.2%, social protections by 37.96%, and ministries and institutions only 6.03%, and not to mention about MSME by 24.42%, business incentive for only 11.22%. And of course, it's government duty to accelerate the distributions and absorptions of funds. We hope that the establishment of Economic Recovery and COVID-19 Mitigations Committee and Task Force can create more effective steps to restore the economy while dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. Stay tuned with market headlines because we will be right back after this quick break.